Without further ado, let's get started. I'm Kyle LaRoche, host of Minutes to Win It, back on Radio Telenormandie. We're here with our 10th episode. We're discussing why consistency beats hustle. And I'm sure that's got a couple of you surprised. And another surprise for you in store today is that we're going to change up the format and we'll get to watch my grind over here in MapleStory, currently on my marksman. So, back to the point at hand. I think this game is a great opportunity to discuss why consistency beats hustle. And I'll start by saying hustle is attractive because it looks like progress, right? I play this game, for example. It's an MMORPG, which means it's a massive multiplayer online role playing game. You have jobs and classes, you have an in game currency, skills to raise, quests to go on, bosses to fight. And I have buddies who play this game with me. They tell me things like, oh, it's not the game I used to know. Things have changed. It's so pay to win. And we discuss it often. I mean, I can't argue with these things. But I can say hustle is attractive because it looks like progress, right? So when you join, let's say after having not played for a long time, and you see a current event and it says, oh, drop $20 and you can get right back up to speed. You can do this and that, and it's like you never left. Of course, that hustle makes you feel like, yeah, I never left. I just pay this money, I get back into the game. Easy peasy. And so maybe to my friend's point, you can say, oh, the game is pay to win. But before I get too far into that dimension, think about it like this. We love the all-nighter. We love the grind season. Stories that go, oh, I barely slept, or I barely had any time left, but I finished. I got it done. We're attracted to that. There's a certain romance to it that keeps people coming back for more. It keeps people in this loop. But the way I see it, that hustle is loud, but consistency is quiet. Hustle gets you attention. It gets attention, sure. But consistency drives results. If I had to compare it, hustle feels productive for a day, but consistency feels good for life. And so you're listening to me, I bet you're going, oh, so what? No hard work? Right? This is not anti hard work. This is anti chaos. Progress is not being on fire all the time. And I hope that after you listen to today's segment, you won't lead a life that depends on that. So, in the grand scheme, I've been speaking for 10 weeks now, this being our 10th week. My 9 previous episodes have covered several things. In week 1, I covered permission to earn. It's been 2 months, so it's been a lot. I know in week 2, we took the time to understand incentives. Week 3, we separated reliable and unreliable income. And then in week 4, I brought up leverage, right? Moving on to week 5, we saw mistakes when we chase side income. That was a great talk, I think. A lot to cover there. And then the next week, week 6, I taught tracking money without fear, which I think is critical. You can go back to that to see why. And in week 7, we saw budgeting is freedom, which is unusual, but one way I like to look at it. Then week 8, we dove into discipline and honest math. That was a big one. A milestone for me. I was able to finally pay off a long-standing debt obligation that I had, and it made sense to discuss that alongside with discipline and those honest numbers. Last week, week 9, I stressed cash flow before investing. And that's because cash flow is the engine, right? Investing is that passenger princess you bring along once the car runs. Without cash flow, you're going nowhere. So, all that said, it leaves us with the question, where are we at with it? This week, I want you to think about this in particular. How do you keep doing the right things for any of that advice to work? Consistency is the answer. I know you were waiting for it, but I gave you a chance to think about it. That answer is consistency. So, when we're talking about why it's the answer, we've got to get on the same page when it comes to the terms. So let's define hustle versus consistency. You know, it'd be nice if I had a guest to talk to about this, but I'm curious what you think. Feel free to leave in the comments below what you think hustle and consistency are. But moving right along with it, I would define hustle as intense, emotional, reactive. It's it's driven by identity, right? Who you are, who you feel you are, is how you hustle. But I would also add that it's fueled by panic, lots of comparison, and maybe too much urgency. I mean, you hear it all the time. I'm finna lock in. Oh, I'm going all out this week. Oh, I went so hard in XYZ. Whatever that may be. I just think consistency is a little different. I would say consistency is repeatable, realistic, you schedule it, and it's less exciting, I have to admit, but it's built to last low energy days, right? And it sounds different. It sounds more like I do this, I does this every week. I know my minimum, I know my limits, my range. See, hustle depends on mood. I think consistency survives any mood. It survives mood. No. So with those defined, why do people choose hustle even when it fails them? Well, I'm sure you're going to ask, why does it fail them? We'll get there. We'll cover it all. But I think there's a few reasons, right? Why would you pick hustle even though I think consistency is better, or maybe hustle isn't cutting it for people? Number one, hustle feels heroic, right? A burst of effort, it feels serious. You're not kidding around anymore. You're finally going to get on whatever you've been putting off. You know, enough's enough. That's the feeling I get with hustle. You feel impressive, which is fine. Now, reason number two is sort of its complement. Consistency feels too small, right? We all want dramatic proof, the transformation, the overnight success, the revamp, the major overhaul. But all the while, we underestimate small, repeatable steps. I mean, I don't have to go into how important that is. There's an author who's more than famous on a book that covers it very well. I'm sure you all know his name, even without me saying it. So I'll move right along. Reason number three is that hustle gives you that instant relief, right? They're picking hustle because when people feel behind, they respond with intensity instead of structure. They'll come back hard instead of organized or in order. And I think this is a big one for people. The last reason number 4, why people choose hustle even when it fails them. People are confusing exhaustion and commitment. They're saying, oh wow, I went so hard, I'm spent. Oh, look at me, I'm out. And they're saying, that's how I show I'm with the cause. Look at how much I put into it. I would say being tired doesn't mean you're building sustainability, right? Again, this is not anti hard work. But I would also argue wearing yourself out in one bout, in one session, doesn't mean you're setting yourself up for success to come. So when we take this in the context of building income, a lot of people aren't building it. They're repeatedly recovering from their own inconsistency. I want to say it again because I feel it's important. People aren't building their income, they're just coming back from their own inconsistency over and over. And so, with that settled, I have to stress why consistency matters. I mean, I can't joke. Consistency matters in a lot of things, but just for the sake of what I'm discussing, especially an incentive based outcome like surveys, side gigs, all of that income that's based off of earning these incentives, it's so important. And I'll get into it. But as I was saying, if you're doing surveys, you're part of referral programs, affiliate links, you make content, you're looking for side gigs, monetized platforms, commissions. I could go on. Consistency is important. Why? Because you don't get rewarded right away or even regularly. I mean, it's just the fact of the matter, which means the person who wins is not the one with the biggest burst. I know you know where this is going. The person who wins is the one who keeps showing up, keeps learning, keeps tracking, refining, staying visible, planting seeds, and it goes into so many things. I said it before. Because since it just matters more, persistence, consistency, whatever word you want to use, matters in so many things other than just what I referred to. But long story short, one day applying to everything, every job, every gig, every survey, is not as good as applying every week. I mean, one event, grinding this game, MapleStory, is not the same. It's not equal to daily or even weekly story, the community calls it. Because you show up, you do your daily quests, you go. It's not much, but that is honest work. I mean, one crazy workout, I'm not going to hold you. Good job on the workout. You crushed it. You spent yourself. I'm not going to discourage you. I just want you to compare it to walking regular workouts every so often. Maybe it's not each day. Maybe it's this many times a week, this many a month. You name it. But that one crazy workout one time is not the same as putting it in the reps. Putting in the reps each day, each time, regularly. So when we come back to incentives and income, it rewards the exposure you get from repetition, from sticking in the game. That's especially why it matters. And for those who aren't sold, I mean, consistency has a compound effect. I'm not going to go into compound interest as a way to demonstrate it, but if you're curious, that's a great way to show it with numbers. Look into compound interest calculator and reflect on, hey, savings every week, same amount, something growing at a constant rate, you're going to see massive gains. But in general, it compounds when your skill improves, your confidence improves, your systems improve. I mean, your judgment gets sharper. Your audiences, they trust you more. Results become more stable, right? We just talked about how it's not consistent. But when you keep up the good work, of course, the rewards, the return on your efforts, they become more constant. It's like a consistent person learns what's worth their time, when they're being distracted, where their leaks are, their energy sinks, and how much energy tasks really cost. Because they'll tell you, ah, man, I can't do the dailies. I'm wiped. I'm sick. Or they'll say, 1,000 mobs? I could get to it. 10, 15 minutes. Consistency doesn't just build money. I would say it adds accuracy. Now, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, and you're wondering what consistency looks like IRL, right? Because in real life, it's easy to say, oh, if I keep showing up, things will work out. But rarely does life feel that way. That's fine. I agree with you. I, I mean, I can hardly argue it. To be sincere, it's not as though consistency is being perfect, okay? It's not doing the most. Mind you, consistency is not doing the most. It's not never missing a day. It's not about always feeling motivated, you know? I hear people tell me, oh man, you're always happy, you're always positive. That's not the case. It's the same for consistency. It's not about being one way all the time, but it is about having a base rhythm, right? It's about knowing your minimum, your standard. You know, you can always stop to chat, do something else, listen to what someone else has to say. But consistency is returning quickly after being disrupted, right? This is really going to rock some people because consistency isn't fancy. Consistency is doing enough often enough. I want to let that sit for a minute. Consistency is doing enough often enough. And so I know it. I mean, we've been doing this 10 weeks. I don't even have to ask. You're looking at me. I need a framework. What does that look like? And I'll tell you. You want to give yourself three options, three levels. What's your minimum? What's your normal? And what does your strong day look like? You're not going to go wrong with this, right? Because at a minimum, you ask yourself, what do I do even when I'm tired? Maybe you check your accounts. Maybe you're like me, you crank out a minute survey, you get $1. That's good. That's your minimum. What's a normal day look like? What do I do on a decent day? Maybe you track things fully. Maybe that's when you're feeling up to follow up. And then, plain and simple, what is a strong day? What do I do when I have energy? Maybe you're doing your batch work. You're building your systems or repairing them. You're looking back and you're saying, I'm not getting my skills up. When they do an update, I'm not quick to reset my character. Maybe it's research. You go, where do I put my skills? I'm only building a mule. I just need to go for the extra stuff. You give yourself these levels and you rise to them. You also fall to them. So you give yourself a minimum, a normal, and then a strong day to aspire to. And why do we go through these lengths? Well, if you've been listening at all, or for the past couple weeks, we're talking about the game here. And the game involves playing to your strengths, building on your weaknesses, and being part of a team. I mean, you have goals. You know what a championship win looks like for you, and that may vary from person to person. Maybe I want to reach level 300 in my game. Maybe you want to raise more money. We talked about commissions, researches, research surveys, many different opportunities. Why are we on this? Well, consistency protects you from mistakes, common mistakes in those realms and with money. So I'll say, without consistency, people tend to overspend after a good week. They'll give up after a bad week. They'll move after opportunities like a dog chasing cars. That's the best way I can put it. They'll they'll avoid tracking out of fear. I know some folks who are like, "Oh man, folks is me in this situation," but many times I've had accounts I don't want to look at because it's like, "Wow, I'm down. I don't have anything left. I don't even want to know what the bill looks like. Just going to put a minimum payment on and hope for the best." Or like some people I do know personally, they'll try to make up for lost time. Nothing gets me more upset. It's like time is the one thing you cannot get back, which is why it's so precious. There really is no making up for it. There's setting up so that future time isn't wasted, but in no way do you get lost time back. So it really does involve deciding carefully and sticking to those decisions with systems that are built for consistency. I mean, without consistency, people tend to rely on the unstable. They'll say, "Oh, I'll do this for some quick bread." They're basically confusing a spike with strategy. "Oh, I'll go hard, really hard today," and then they end up burning out, taking the week off. Week becomes a month, month becomes a year becomes, man, you really let yourself go. What happened to you? I mean, maybe that's harsh, but you don't see someone after a long time and you go, "Well, last time I saw you, you said you were going to Louisiana. What happened?" To come back to it, hustle makes you feel like you can outrun those weak systems. But consistency makes you build better ones. That's what it comes down to. Building better systems, I think. So, you've heard me say it over and over again. I've more than tied my tongue saying the word consistent, consistency. You're really fed up. You're looking for the answers at this point. How do I become more consistent? But I don't want to become a robot, is what you tell me. You say, "Oh, a schedule is too rigid. Oh man, I can't organize every minute of the day. Oh, I need free time to be relaxed. I can't order everything. Things come up. It's impossible to stick to." Well, I already told you consistency isn't being perfect. It isn't showing up every day. So how do you become more consistent without being a robot? There's many things. The Japanese discuss it regularly. I really invite you to check out their philosophy on some of these concepts because they have a way of framing it that really makes you consider life is about the little things. But in general, I would tell you, you got to lower the size but raise the frequency. It's like that guy I mentioned earlier. For those of you who didn't know, I'm referring to James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, but I can't write it better than he does. Small, done repeatedly, is way more impactful than large, done rarely. Right? Early and often is what one of my soups used to say when I worked in a commercial real estate office. I think his name was Bobby. It's a big firm. I was an intern, you know, waking up early. It's a summer gig. It was a great summer gig. Met a lot of people, a lot of opportunities. Bobby used to say, you want to do things early and often. It's not enough just to be early. You need to be early more than once, right? Early once sets a good impression, but early often sets a tone. So moving on, I mean, to be consistent without becoming rigid, you should schedule the behavior, not just the goal. I mean, how many times you hear someone say, "Oh, I need to make more money. Oh, I need to lose weight. Oh, I need to fix this, organize my room, clean up, that, and the third." But it's all vague. It's nondescript. What would hurt? What would help? What would help you herd that mentality in? I'm going to spend 20 minutes on income tasks every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. You know why? Because that's executable. It's specific. You're going in. I mean, on that realm, on that note, track the proof, not just the emotion, okay? You don't ask, did I feel like it? Because that's one question. I mean, you're never going to feel like it. But you should ask, did I do it? That's all you need to know. Did you do it or not? You want to build for bad weeks. Because like I said before, consistency isn't perfection, right? It's not going to work every time. I don't know how else to put it. Consistency doesn't mean you're flawless. There will be days it rains, okay, and your parade is just getting poured on. But what do? Do you never bring that float out again? Will you never host another parade? No, okay? You set up for the fact that, yeah, you won't always win, right? You won't always accomplish what you set out to do, but you don't spiral because that much was accounted for, okay? You'll get back in it, you know? My buddy, good friend of mine, lives a state or two away, but he loves to say minor setbacks, major comebacks. And that's because, I mean, some resistance is expected. Another phrase I really liked hearing from someone who probably experienced a lot more than me. He didn't explain exactly where it was from, but he's brother to a guy I know who writes. He says, plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. You might have served in some position or another, but it's true. You build for those bad weeks because plans rarely survive contact with the enemy. And last but certainly not least, I have to say, return fast. Okay? The thing is, like I said, because it's not consistent and there are those days where you mess up, people, they tend to stray. The danger isn't a day off, okay? It's a week off, month off, years off. And then it leads to that what happened question from people who know you. So before I let you go, I just want to end on a, a few key notes. Hustle can start something. There's no doubt, no question. Consistency can finish. And if you've understood anything from me today, it's that hustle has a place. Sometimes you do need to be urgent. You need a hard push. But you're not going to build lasting peace with constant emergencies. A stable life needs stable behavior. I mean, I was just listening to a song, writing this whole talk and delivering it made me think of one track by De La Soul featuring MF Doom. But I think one of them is going, you don't need to be the most intense in their own words, it's everyone cools off from being hot. It's about if you can handle being cold or not. And so I've been Kyle LaRoche, not doing the most, just sticking to the standards. This has been Minutes to Win It on Radio Telenormandie, and I'll see you next week. Peace.